How's it going, guys? It's Mark from the Sports Corner, and we are going over the Week 3 matchups this season. Last week was a bloodbath. Oh, man, for anybody betting, anybody took any favorites, I'm sure the public got massacred. So many teams that were favored by so many points lost their behind. It is unbelievable. So many teams that we didn't expect to lose lost. Lions lose straight up. The 49ers lose straight up. Eagles losing a debacle of a game. Unbelievable. And let's don't forget about the Dallas Cowboys getting smacked by the Saints. And so many other games that were just unbelievable last week. So hopefully this week we do better. I'll be going through all the matchups and what I would pick if I was betting all these games. I'm not going to bet all of them. I'm going to bet the ones I like. And at the end, I will give you my favorite 3 matchups for this week in the NFL. So, let's get to it. And for our first game, Thursday Night Football, Jets versus the Patriots in New Jersey. This game, just going to be boring. Both teams, they didn't look so great in their matchups last week. I know the Jets won, but the Titans held it to 17-17 till the fourth quarter. Will Levis blew the game. I'm not surprised there. Aaron Rodgers looks a bit rusty. Breece Hall looks great. I had him last week for anytime touchdown, so that was a good cash in for me. But the Aaron Rodgers looks a little bit unsteady. All they have is Garrett Wilson in the passing game. I don't like Lazard. Where's the tight end at? I don't see him anywhere. They have another backup running back in Allen. He looks really great. And also, the Jets lost one of their linebackers in Jermaine Johnson, one of their best pass rushers, a good hitter. I mean, the guy lays the hammer down. They lose him for the season, and they already don't have Reddick. So who's going to rush the ball? Who's going to rush the passer, that is? So I think losing him is big. Losing Reddick, not even playing. So, where's this pass rush going to come from? And on the Patriots, God knows they can't pass the ball. Their wide receivers are garbage as well. I don't understand it. Polk, don't like him. Douglas, don't like him. They just rely on Henry the whole time, and that's Brissett's escape plan. Throw it to the tight end. But both these teams rely on the running backs. I like both of them. That Bryce Hall with the Jets and Allen, and Stevenson and Gibson. Stevenson and Gibson put over 170 yards rushing last week against the Seahawks. They both look great. Stevenson's looks amazing on the first 2 weeks of this season. And I think they keep up with that and throw in some play action to the tight end and maybe a wide receiver. I think they could keep up with the Jets. I know the Patriots are going to be without their left tackle and left guard, which is unfortunate, but I believe they do enough in the run game to keep up with the Jets. The Jets have one of the worst rush defenses. I believe it's the bottom 5, and the Patriots just look really great. The under is, I believe I've written down here, the under has hit in the last 4 matchups between these two teams, dating back since 2022. So if that trend's going to continue, I like the Patriots plus the 6.5 or 6. Try to get that 6.5. But, I like the 6.5. If you want to go for the under, I think that's a good bet, too, at 38.5. But I think the Patriots keeping up in the run game. I think both teams waste a lot of clock because they're going to be running the ball. But I like the Patriots' run game better. I like their defense to keep the Jets in check. So with that, I like the Patriots plus the 6.5. And for the second game, let's talk about the Eagles, my Eagles, against the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints are favored by 2.5. This opened, by the way, the Eagles favored by 3 points. So quite a swing to the Saints, which is a little too big of a swing a little bit, if you ask me. But let's start with my Eagles. Dropped the ball against the Falcons. They literally shot themselves in the foot. They had the game. They held the Falcons to 15 points. And just bad coaching decisions made them lose on both sides of the ball. I believe they should have ran the ball with Barkley. Even if you don't get the first down, you keep the Falcons back at their own 30-yard line, but then you take 20 to 25 seconds off the clock. So bad decisions. And then Vic Fangio playing prevent defense and letting Kirk just have all the time in the world and not blitzing and, letting him carve up him at the end. So, they shot themselves in the home foot. Their pass rush, there's no pass rush. What are they paying these guys for? And who do they draft? Davis and Carter, both first-round picks. Nolan Smith is a first-round pick. 3 first-round picks right there. And those guys are made to get at the quarterback. Not happening whatsoever. Okay? Davis is a bust from Georgia. I don't care. He needs to get down to 20 snaps at it and start Millen Williams over him. Carter, this guy got disciplined for not showing up at a team event or meeting, whatever. So there's some disciplinary issues here. The guy clearly has talent, but he has been a no-show in both games. You see splashes. He threw the Packers guard like it was nothing during the game, and he did get some pressures. And he had some pressures last week, but not what he's supposed to be. Some people in Philadelphia were calling him the next Aaron Rodgers, which is a bit unseen, but there's no. I've not seen it so far. Hopefully, he gets a turnaround on that. I do believe it's a little overreaction with this line swinging that much for the Saints. I know the Saints are blowing people out, but this can't keep up. I'm sorry, Saints fans, anybody out there. The Saints, they're throwing the long ball and it's getting completed at every time. Okay, that's not. I can't see David Carr keeping up that same production. I think he's averaging 12 yards a throw or 11 yards a throw because of these deep balls he's landing there. He's landing. I don't see that keeping up. You also have to keep in mind that the Saints have not played a team that actually could rush the ball. Dallas Cowboys are a one-dimensional team. Zeke Elliott is shot. I don't care what he says. And all of his backups, I don't know. I can't remember all those guys as backups. They don't look good as well. The Eagles can rush the ball effectively and immediately. They have one of the best offensive lines. They're going to hold the defensive line, the defense of the Saints back, guarantee it. And they're going to run the ball. And I think both Hurts and Barkley are going to rush over 130 to 150 yards on the Saints. I truly believe that. So if you want to play those player props, go ahead. But because the Eagles can't rush the quarterback and their rush defense is looking terrible, and Kamara is looking like a beast so far, I can't back the Eagles, even though I'm being a big Eagles fan. The over-under is 49.5, so they think this is going to be maybe a shootout or just a high-scoring game in general. But because the Saints are running the ball really great with Kamara, and I think David Carr eventually will come down to earth, but I don't think it'll come down this game. So, and for all the reasons I said on Eagles defense, unless they short up, they start doing things differently, this might be the same turnaround. So with this game, I think it pains me to say it. I'm not going to bet it, but it pains me to say that I would take the Saints to cover and win. 2.5. I see the Saints kicking a field goal in their own house. They're really great at home, by the way. So I just can't see the Eagles turning around and fixing their mistakes just yet. I think they will. I think they go in Tampa Bay and beat them next week after this one. But right now, I like the Saints to defeat my Philadelphia Eagles and cover the 2.5, unfortunately. And the next matchup, which I predict is going to be a snooze fest, and what I'm calling a toilet bowl game. Fittingly, the team is named the Browns. The Giants versus the Browns. The Giants, the Cleveland is favored by 6.5 points. Both these teams' offenses are awful. Watson, that guy, the shell of himself when he used to play in the Texans, and he's also having women coming out of the woodwork for all the things he's done. Being a distraction to his team. I don't like Ford, the running back. They'll be better when Chubb gets back, whenever that is. The Giants are averaging 12 points a game. I mean, that's awful. I mean, to their credit though, they would have beat the Commanders if Gano does not get hurt. With Gano healthy in that game, the Giants win. I had personally the Giants money line, but they have just some bad luck. But that's the Giants. Bad luck and bad decisions right there. That's just the Giants name. The Giants should be called the bad luck and bad decision team, because the decision to keep Danny Dimes as a quarterback, awful, just awful. Both teams have some weapons. You got Neighbors, who looks great for the Giants. Robinson is decent too as another wide receiver. The running back, Singletary, had a good game last week. I don't see that repeating against the Browns' good defense. The Browns have Cooper at wide receiver. They don't have their starting tight end, which is quite a bummer for them. But they have Cooper, so they have another weapon. But I just see this game as going to be a snooze fest, a low-scoring snooze fest. The over/under is 38.5. I mean, I might play that under. I think I may be 20-10. Honestly, whoever gets to 20 points first in this game will probably win it. And I can see the Browns probably doing it because they may get some turnovers from their defense. So I see this game being 20-14, 20-10 Browns. I'm not so confident in the pick because the Browns last week were 2-14 on third downs, which is just god awful. And the Browns have failed to cover 3 out of the last 4 games. But if I had to bet this game, I think we're going to get some turnovers by the Giants. The Giants defense is not that bad. But if I'm both quarterbacks, just both awful, But if I'm going to pick with that, I'm just going to pick the better defense. The Browns have a better defense than the Giants. And I think Danny Pennies is going to throw some turnovers, and the Browns are going to take advantage of it. And I think they're going to run some clock off, and they win the game. I could see this game, like I said, 7-20 or 10-20. But the Browns do cover, in which this game will be a snooze fest, toilet bowl game. Browns cover the 6.5 points. This possibly a snooze fest of the game. The Tennessee versus the Packers. And at Tennessee, and Tennessee by right now is favored 1.5 on ESPN Bet. Tennessee kept it a pretty close game against the Jets, 17-17 all the way. Will Levis did Will Levis things, and Jets won. The Packers, they played one snooze fest of a game against the Colts, 16-10, I believe it was. Richardson gives the game away by throwing 3 interceptions. So Packers got a little lucky on that. I do not trust Malik Willis. The guy looks terrible. He was terrible on the Titans too. They got Jacobs. Jacobs looks great. I did not think he was going to be this good. I thought it was a bad signing by the Packers, but so far he's been proving me wrong. I believe he's in top 3 in rushing yards. They're using him a lot because, they lost A.J. Dillon and Jordan Love's out, so they can't throw to their good group of wide receivers. So that's another thing. They have a good wideouts. Not a really number 1 star on the team, but a lot of good 3 or 4 wide receivers on the team. Tennessee as well. They got Calvin Ridley and Hopkins. Will Levis just needs to get the ball with him without any turnovers. He did better against the Jets than he did with the Bears. That Bears throw, that circus throw, I don't know what he was thinking. But with this game, the Titans have shown they put up a good fight. They would have beat the Bears if they just didn't just shoot themselves in their foot and they kept up with the Jets the whole way of the game till that fourth quarter. So they have some pieces. Their defense is looking a little better than I thought as well. I mean, they played against opponents with some not great offenses yet, but the Green Bay Packers don't have a really great offense. I wrote this down that winless teams against teams with one win, at least one win. The winless team is 72% against the spread. That's really great to hear. I also like Pollard. Pollard looks like he's doing really great. With the Titans, still looks way better than they did look with the Cowboys, so that's a great plus for the Titans. And my biggest thing is that I don't think the Packers, they won that game against the Colts because of Anthony Richardson's bonehead moves. 3 interceptions. Malik Willis he's can't pass the ball whatsoever, so they're gonna be pounding the ball with Jacobs. So I think you know where I'm heading here. Straight to the point. I think the Titans get their first win. I think they cover the 1.5. They've been unlucky the last 2 games. I think Will Levis tightens up. He actually puts up a good game, and they defeat the Packers, covering the 1.5. Just can't trust Malik Willis. I think they're going to stop Jacobs as much as they can, and the Titans get their first win against the Cheeseheads. Right, so in this other snooze fest of a game, we have the Chicago Bears versus the Indianapolis Colts. This is going to be another toilet bowl game. You got Anthony Richardson turning the ball left and right. You have Caleb Williams getting sacked every minute of the game. I mean, the guy can't even move. Sack, hike. Hike, sack, hike, sack, high sack. Hike, run, sack. The guy was just getting demolished by the Texans. I'm surprised he's still walking. So I believe this is going to be a low-scoring game. What we got here? We have the Colts favored by 1, and the total at 43.5 currently right now at ESPN Bet. So, but let's give some credit. The Bears held the Texans to 19 points, which is really great. They have a really good defense, really good corners in Johnson and Stevenson. So they can hold their own. That's really good for them because Pittman where is he? He's lost. I can't see Pittman. Where are you? Why did I draft you in fantasy? Anthony Richardson is throwing the ball to everybody but his wide receivers. You get a pick. You get a pick. You get a pick. I mean, come on. What are you doing here? But the Bears offense looks non-existent. At least Swift, who they took from the Eagles, Swift, another product of looking better than he really is because he was behind the Eagles offensive line. Well, hey, Swift, how's it going around that atrocious offensive line? Not too good, right? And they had the wide receivers. Allen is questionable. He's hurt. Keep an eye on that. DJ Moore, he's going to play. And the other rookie, I cannot pronounce his name. I believe he's a little banged up as well. And, the Bears held their own against the Houston Texans. They beat Will Levis and the Titans without scoring an offensive touchdown, by the way. But their defense came back in the game, and their special teams came back. But, they only scored 3 points against the Houston Texans in the second half. They just got completely shut out, almost, Both teams are averaging 18 points a game. Do with that what you will. The Bears are, I think, they're second from last, and let me see. I wrote it down here. They're 31st in the NFL in yards per game. The Bears. I think the only team worse is probably the Panthers. So that is not good. So with all that being said, I think the Colts with Taylor, the better offensive line, the all right. Decent wide receivers. I believe Downs is coming back, so that's a good pickup for them. A good addition. So Downs, Pittman, and Pierce with a good offensive line, and if Anthony Richardson just makes better decisions, I believe the Colts pull this off. the Bears' offensive line just terrible. That's it. The defense can't keep on pulling off miracles for them to win. Okay, but I do like this bet. I will take the put this in there if you'd like. Caleb Williams to throw his first touchdown against the Colts. If you could find that player prop out there, if it's Caleb Williams 0.5 or more to throw a passing touchdown, take it. If it's 1.5, go under that. I believe he has his first passing touchdown this game. But I am taking the Titans. I am taking the Titans to beat the Bears -1. We have a great matchup here with the Texans versus the Vikings. Both these teams look great. I think we all expect the Texans to be good. They got a lot of firepower on their team and a hell of a coach in DeMeco Ryans. And the Vikings surprising everybody by just whipping the 49ers. That game was, I know it said it was close, but if you watch the game, the Vikings were in control for a lot of it. So great matchup. The Texans versus the Vikings. Vikings are in Minnesota, and Houston's favored by 2 currently on ESPN Bet. I know Jefferson is questionable for the game, and Addison as well. So keep an eye on that. Definitely keep an eye on that. Jefferson said he would play in the game, but you never know. You might want to keep your all-star to rest for one game. So far the Minnesota's averaging 25 points a game. They're only allowing 11 points. They held the 49ers to 14 points, I believe. So that's really great. They outgained San Francisco too, and San Francisco was supposed to have the better offense. Where's Brock Purdy at? And they lead the league in sacks. The Minnesota Vikings lead the league in sacks. People forget their defense was pretty good last year, and they added some good additions. Even though they lost Hunter to the Texans, but they did have some good additions. Go look those up. They're really, really, really solid guys they signed up. With the Texans, C.J. Stroud is that guy. He's one of the next great quarterbacks. Looks really good. They got Nico Collins, who leads the league in receiving. They got Tank Dell, guys, lightning fast. They got Schultz at tight end. They do have Mixon at running back, which is a good addition. He looks good with them. I believe he's questionable for the game, so another thing to keep an eye on. Texans average 24 points a game, and their defense is allowing 20 points a game, so there's that. And a quick stat I wrote down here, or a betting stat, if you will. The Texans have won 3 of their 4 games against teams that held a winning record. So, this game is going to be fun to watch. It's going to be great. We're having a good preview here, but I'm going to say this. I think Sam Darnold's going to eventually come down to earth. I know people think he's having a resurgence with his career, and he's finally gotten the good coach in Minnesota, which is a good coach, Connell, whatever the hell his name is. But he's a good coach, good offensive mind. But I think he comes down a bit of earth in this game. I think that the Minnesota Vikings are a bit of a fool's gold with him, and I believe Sam Darnold's true colors will show up, and that's why he's been a bit of a bust since he's been drafted. So if I'm gonna take these good both teams, not saying the Minnesota Vikings are bad, just a bit of a fool's gold. I think they'll come down to earth a bit. So in this game, I'm just taking the better weapons and the wide receivers. If Addison plays, both of them have a great combo. Jefferson being the best of all of them. Running backs, Jones or Mixon, I would say they're about even themselves. Jones has been a little banged up, so keep an eye on that as well. So it comes down to the quarterbacks. They both have their respective defenses. The Texans have Stingley, they have Will Anderson, and they have Hunter. So both teams have really good defenses. But to me, it comes down to the quarterback play. And I am going to take C.J. Stroud over Sam Darnold any day of the week. I think Sam Darnold's going to have a turnover as well, just like he did with the San Francisco 49ers. So with that, just on the quarterbacks themselves, I am going to take the Texans to go into Minnesota and to cover the 2 points. I could definitely just see them winning by a field goal. They have a great kicker. So take that, and I think the Texans will start 3-0. And I think the Minnesota Vikings, even though with the loss, I think they still survive and fight for the NFC North title. All right, and for our next matchup is Steel City, the Steelers versus the Chargers in Pittsburgh, with Pittsburgh being a favorite of 1.5, total at 35.5, so they're looking at to be a very close game. This game has all the markups of a run defense kind of game. The Steelers have Justin Fields' legs. I don't know who's worried about his passing. I don't know anybody worried about his passing. I'm not a Justin Fields believer. I believe he's just an average quarterback who can run. I don't like any of the Pittsburgh Steelers running backs. Harris and Warren, average, I would say. I would even say Harris is a bust at being a first-round pick. I do love George Pickens, though. I think George Pickens has a really great quarterback who can pass the ball. He'd be a really great wide receiver in this league and could put up some big numbers. And the Chargers offense, great rushing attack. Dobbins looks like vintage Dobbins behind that line. We'll get to their O-line in a second. Dobbins looks amazing. Edwards, it looks all right, but not as good as Dobbins. Love it because I drafted Dobbins late in my fantasy draft, and he's looking great. Leads the league in rushing, that is. Johnson had a big game last week. He looks good. But let's talk about Joe Alt, the Chargers first-round pick rookie. The guy looks amazing. He held Max Crosby in check, and Max Crosby's a beast. I think Crosby had 2 sacks the last week himself. So holding him in check, he's been holding it his own since he was drafted and playing in the NFL. Looks really amazing. Probably going to be one of the best left tackles in this league, if not already, when the season ends. So he could possibly hold his own against TJ Watt. TJ Watt, as we know, is a beast. The guy's everywhere on the field. The guy could play damn near every position except corner, maybe, but I wouldn't be surprised he couldn't play that. So this is going to be a great matchup. Charger defense looks really good, but their opponents have been really crappy opponents, like the Panthers. And believe they beat Oakland as well. So yeah, they did beat the Raiders. Las Vegas Raiders. Be that with Minshew, and be that with their wide receiving core, Adams and Myers, and the Chargers held them. Pittsburgh defense is the better defense. Their last game last week was a snooze fest of a game. Against Denver. Oh my God, I was just hoping that game would be over already. But Denver is nothing to brag about. Their offense is god awful. So it's good. I think it's gonna be a really tight game, as it's been predicted, and a low scoring game. Both teams are going to be dependent on the run, and they're going to be dependent on their defenses to get turnovers and just make stops. I just don't trust Justin Fields, but the Steelers have won 7 of their last 8 games, as a slight favorite. So that's something to remember. Usually Tomlin is great as an underdog, but not good as a favorite. The Chargers are 10-4 straight up in the last 14 games against the NFC North. So there's a lot to deal with. You have the Chargers also have Bosa and Mack, who look pretty good. Bosa, I believe, has 2 sacks, and I think Mack has almost 2 sacks, 1.5. So both these teams could get after the quarterback. I would say the Chargers probably have the better offensive line. But you have to put things in perspective. Are the Chargers 2-0 because their opponents were not so great? The Raiders beat the Ravens, so maybe, that helps their case. And with the Steelers, they didn't look so great against Denver. I don't care what anybody says. Their defense just can't keep on carrying it for them. If TJ Watt, as good as he is going to be everywhere, the guy could probably get hurt again. And then where are they going to be without him? I know they got a good defensive line with Hayward and all that, but, this is a very tough game. And I don't trust Justin Fields. I do not trust him whatsoever. The guy could just run, can't throw the ball very accurately. So I'm just going to go with the better quarterback and the better offensive line. And I'm going to take the Chargers going into Pittsburgh and defeating the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I would take them actually money line. But if you want that 1.5, take it. Maybe the Pittsburgh gets a field goal and they go up by 1. But I like the Chargers money line on this. Give me the better quarterback and the better offensive line. On this next game, let's make it quick. The Denver Broncos going to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay being a 6.5 favorite right now against the Broncos. Total at 39.5. I'll make this short and simple. The Broncos look awful. They're 0-2. Bo Nix, I believe, had 2 picks again last week. No idea why Colin Cowherd thinks that Denver was going to be a sneaky pick. He just has a hard on for Sean Payton because Sean Payton's on his show all the time. But no, I'll keep this short and simple. Baker Mayfield looks pretty good. 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. Irving, the backup running back, he looks great, and White might be out, so keep that in mind. But I think Irving, having him as a backup, is a good backup. He actually looks really explosive, really nice. And they have Mike Evans and Goodwin, So, and they have a good offensive line. So I'll make this short and simple. I don't see, if Bo Nix is still the quarterback, I don't think that they have a chance. Their running backs are it's a carousel. I know Williams is supposed to be the starting running back, but they don't look too good at all. Bo Nix, they have some wide receivers, but I don't see them getting. He can't get to the wide receivers, so I'm not actually going to try to break down this game too much. I'm not. I may or may not bet this game. Maybe I'll throw Buccaneers in a small parlay to win money line, but to cover the 6.5. But I could see this game being 24-14 or 24-10. So give me the Buccaneers to cover the 6.5 and pit away this boring team that is rebuilding and a little bit overrated of Bo Nix. So yeah, give me the Tampa Bay covering the 6.5. We have another interesting matchup. We have the Raiders versus the Panthers. And if you had told me last week that this might have been an interesting matchup, I'd have been like, what are you smoking? But with Andy Dalton now being the quarterback, I believe that the Panthers have a puncher's chance. Young held back this offense so back. He held them back so bad. You couldn't pass the ball, and because you can't pass the ball, the rushing, you just put so many men in the box to stop the run. Ironically, Andy Dalton came back last year in week 3, I believe, and he threw over 300 yards with the same Panthers team. The roster is better this year. They have a better offensive line, and they added some pieces on offense. The defense is terrible. They have no pass rush. They have some all right corners. J.C. Horn, he's all right. He looks good. But they have no pass rush. They can't get to the quarterback. So that's going to be difficult for a team that as the Raiders who like to pass the ball because they have the worst rushing offense in all football. It's just god-awful. White is not good. They need to trade for somebody, get a decent running back in there, or they need to just get one in the offseason for next year because it's awful. But they have a great trio. They have Bowers as tight end, who's going to be, one of the top 5, top 3 tight ends in the next coming years. And they have Devontae Adams, who's still really good. He put up over 100 yards receiving against the Baltimore Ravens last week. And they have Jacoby Myers, who's a good position receiver. Great, he's solid for that team. So, you have a team that it's so you don't know how good they're going to be with the new quarterback with the Panthers, and you have a team that has a other quarterback who's not reliable. Is he going to give you good numbers? Is he going to be consistent, or is he going to be missing passes left and right and Gardner Minshew? So it's very hard to choose this. So with that, let's get in some stats here. The Panthers are dead last in yards per game, but I think that's because of Young. They haven't covered 7 of the last 10 games. And, so this is, I believe, and their defense are allowing 36 points a game. So it's hard to get behind the Panthers in this game. And like I said, they have some good, Dalton's coming back. The O-line is good for the Panthers. They have some weapons, which I think Dalton will show that this offense could be actually usable. The Raiders, they have their Pierce have been playing okay defense. Crosby's a monster back there, They have a good trio of weapons in Bowers, in the two wide receivers in Adams and Jacoby Myers. So with all that being said, I think that the Panthers can cover the 5.5. 5 right now in ESPN bet. If you get a 5.5, which I think there's some places, take the hook. I think that Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, adds a spark to this team. I think everybody, the whole team is going to be, happy that Young is benched, and they're going to be just rejuvenated to actually show that these guys can actually play ball. So with that, I also like a little bit for the over. Is the over this 39.5 the number? I think this will go over the number as well. So my best play, I like the over better, but if I was going to choose the opponent who's going to win, give me the Panthers plus 5.5 to cover against the Raiders, and the over 39.5. Right, in this matchup, we have the Pacific Northwest versus South Beach. That is Miami versus the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle being the favorite by 4 or 4.5. It's 4 on ESPN right now, and the over-under at 41.5. Tua is out. Got hit pretty hard, but he's gonna still play. So good luck with that. I really hope the kid stays healthy. The Seahawks last week did not look good against the Patriots. I had them to cover the 3 points. They pushed. They had to take it to overtime to push. They got a good secondary, ball hawk secondary, but the rush defense did not look good. They let 170 rushing yards get thrown on them by the Patriots. Stevenson and Gibson lit them up. Brissett, he didn't do anything against them because he's god awful. So the Seahawks, Geno threw over 300 yards, still got the weapons, still got Lockett, still has Metcalf. They have that good slot receiver. I cannot pronounce his name for the life of me, so I apologize for that. No Walker, probably. When Walker is not in this game, I think Walker adds actually dimension. He gets the second level more than Carbonet does. Carbonet did all right for the Seattle Seahawks. Did pretty good for fantasy-wise. Got a receiving touchdown, I believe. But them barely getting past the New England Patriots is not good. Not good at all. I don't know what to do with this. They have the weapons on offense, which is great, but the defense let the New England Patriots almost come up and beat them. With Miami, they have all the weapons besides Tua. They got a bunch of speed. They got A-Chain. They have Hill. They have Waddle. Their offensive line is okay, not great. But Skylar Thompson is, 7th round pick. He's been in the system now, I think, a couple of years with them. He does not look so great. So, I'm not liking that. I think, to keep this short and simple, with Walker out and the rush defense in the Seahawks looking a little suspect, I think that the Dolphins are going to expose that. I think they're going to get Tyreek Hill in space. They're going to have Skylar Thompson teach him get the ball out of his hands really quick. Get Tyreek Hill on some jet sweeps, maybe a Waddle as well. But I think A-Chain's going to have a great game. I think he's going to be, he's going to go over 80 yards rushing, possibly over 100. This is one of my best bets. And where I'm going with this, I'm going to take the Dolphins plus 4 or 4.5 where you get it against the Seahawks. All right, so in this other one, we have a surprising team that's 0-2 and another team that dropped an egg and got demolished, and that is the Baltimore Ravens versus the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas, and Baltimore being a 1-point favorite and the total being at 48.5. Very surprised at Baltimore. But, their offensive line's a mess. Henry looks all right. It doesn't look bad, doesn't look good. It looks like he had a decent game last week. Secondary is, it's not so great. Adams lit up the Baltimore Ravens, the Raiders that is. I mean, losing the Ravens is embarrassing in itself. I don't think the Ravens are not that great of a team, so that was an eye opener. And the Dallas Cowboys, them getting just shellacked by the Saints. Now the Saints are looking pretty good, but it's I think it's only 2 weeks, but they look one-dimensional. It's Dak and CD, and that's it. Cooks is good, not as good as he once was. I don't like any of the running backs for them. For the Cowboys, Zeke Elliott, no thank you. All their backups, no thank you. Ferguson's out. So, I don't like Dallas Cowboys. Like they need to add more little. They got no money. I don't know what else they're going to add to their offense, but the Ravens are ninth in rushing, so that's good. They got Lamar Jackson and Henry back there, and the other kid, I forget his name, but he's their speed back. They need to use Likely more. They need to use Likely more. I think they need to get him more in space. Have him and Andrews on the field at the same time, and using Zay Flowers. Get those guys moving around, but get them in space. And Lamar Jackson needs to run the ball. He needs to run the ball. Okay, that's just what you're gonna have to do to be competitive in this year. With their shaky offensive line and their okay secondary. Lamar needs to run the ball. Some good stats here. The Ravens have won 18 of their last 19 games as favorites against NFC opponents. And the Cowboys have failed to cover the spread in 6 of their last 7 Sunday games as underdogs. So, and another good one I have written here is the Ravens have covered the spread in 6 of their last 7 games as favorites following the loss. So, that's really great. So, I think the Ravens know what they have to do. They have to run the rock, and then use the play action to beat the Cowboys for the top. So, I think Lamar Jackson rushes over 50 yards in this game. Henry goes over 80 again. And I believe the Ravens pull out a squeaker here against the Cowboys. So, give me the Ravens to win, cover the 1 point, and the Cowgirls go 1-2. This matchup I'm going to keep short and simple. It's the 49ers versus the Rams in LA, with the 49ers being a 7-point favorite right now on ESPN Bet. I see it at 7.5 and some other ones, and the over-under at 44.5. I'll keep this short and simple, like I said. I think the 49ers are going to cover this and win. The Rams are just beat up. Just really beat up. Just a bad timing meeting the 49ers. Their best weapons are hurt in Kupp and Nakua. Their offensive line is beat up as well. So, good luck with Matthew Stafford, so I know the 49ers are beat up too a little bit with CMC and Debo out for a few weeks, but they still have the better weapons. Ayuk is number one, is a good number one. Mason looks like he could carry the load while CMC's out. And George Kittle is looking good. He had a great game last week. And, they got their good defenders. The D-line and linebackers are really good. Their secondary, it's okay. It's not as good as it once was there for the 49ers. But because how injured prone the Rams are, and they're going to probably to be dependent on their running game with Williams to keep Matthew Stafford, from getting sacked so many times, which I think is going to happen. The Rams tight end is out as well. I think I saw that somebody said he was questionable, but I think he's out for the game. But yeah, short and simple, I think the 49ers come in, they cover the 7 points, they put a shellac on the Rams. The Rams are just too beat up, bad luck. And I also think the 49ers want to prove that they are the team that they were last year. They lose the Minnesota Vikings. I think this is a good bounce-back game for them. They want to prove that they are one of the elite teams in the NFL. and the Rams are just in the wrong place at the wrong time for this. And I think the San Francisco come in and bulldoze the Rams. So give me the 49ers minus the points. And this next matchup, I think, is going to be really fun. Really fun matchup. It's going to be great to watch. We have the surprising Arizona Cardinals against the little bit disappointing team of the Lions in Arizona, with Detroit being a 3-point favorite, as it says on ESPN Bet, and the over-under being 51.5. So Arizona surprising everybody, putting a show on last week, putting up good numbers. Murray looks like he's back, fully 100% healthy from that injury. Marvin Harris Jr. had his come-out game last week, looked just like his father, a little more explosive, obviously. And Connor, the running back, looks really good, really great. The defense the problem with the Cardinals is their defense. Also, want to mention the Arizona tight end, good tight end, good young tight end. He's going to have a great future in this league. But Arizona. Problem is their defense. They're little shaky in the back end there. So that's something that Detroit can counter with. Detroit, has the weapons. They have Gibbs, Montgomery, they have Williams, they have the tight end, Laporta, I believe, and they have St. Brown. St. Brown hasn't been as good as he is in the last, hasn't been as consistent as he's always has been. But, and Jared Goff is consistent, steady, so, that's great. And they have a great offensive line. They did lose last week, but, I think they will have a bounce back because I think they're going to be one of the better teams of this week. But to get to some numbers here, our Arizona is 5-3 against the spread at home as underdogs since 2003. And currently, right now, the Cardinals are 2-0 against the spread this season. It's only 2 games, but being 2-0 is great. And the Lions are 1-1 against the spread. Lions have a lot of injuries. Not injuries, but they're beat up. Davenport's beat up. He's questionable. Their tight end, their corner they drafted, Arnold, is questionable. St. Brown is questionable. So all these guys are a bit beat up, The Cardinals have I've written down here, they rank number 5th in the leagues in yards per game. They're number 2 in scoring. They have a balanced attack. So with the combinations with Connor and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Murray, and their solid tight end, that young kid, and Wilson, that's not bad. That is not a bad offense, So they could put up some good numbers. That's why the number is so high here, And their defense is not so great, but they still rank 13th in leagues in opponent yards per play allowed. So it's not terrible, And I think the Lions, you got to watch. They're a high-flying team. If Williams gets behind everybody, he's going to catch it. It's going to touchdown after touchdown, And St. Brown's great for right there being in the middle. I'm not sold their secondary, even with their first-round pick they got. I called it. Their secondary is still not that great. They lost Gardner Johnson to the Eagles as well. He's a bit of a ball hawk, and he brings a spice to a defense with his loud mouth and just getting other players to get mad at him, the opponent players. So losing him was not so great. The Lions have lost 21 of their last 24 road games against the NFC West. That's something to look at. The underdogs have won each of the last 2 games between the Lions and Cardinals. And the Cardinals have covered the spread in each of the last 5 games in September. And the Lions have failed to cover the spread in the 4 of their last 5 games as favorites against the NFC West. So I think you guys know where I'm going with this. I think the Cardinals are surprising people. I think a lot of people have a lot of juice still on the Lions. I think because they're beat up a little bit, and I also don't trust their secondary. The over, I was kind of leaning towards. It's a lot to ask for 51.5, but I do like a lean to the over. I think this is going to be a 28-27 game, 28-31 kind of game. But I do like the Cardinals to win money line. I would take them on the money line, but if you're a little suspect on that, I would take the Cardinals then plus the 3.5 at home. So, yeah, it's just going to be a fun and exciting game. I won't be surprised if the Detroit pull it out, but I think the Arizona are going to keep it really close and to potentially win the game outright. So I think I'm going to take that 3.5 and also pick the money line as well. Have the Super Bowl champs, Kansas City, going to Atlanta, playing the Falcons, with Kansas City being the favorite at 3.5 and the total at 46.5. I think Atlanta is getting a little too hype here, a little juice, because they were held by 15 points by the Eagles, okay? And because of bad coaching on both ends of the ball by Philadelphia Eagles, the Atlanta Falcons pulled off a win. They had to go down the field, and they carved up the Eagles in the last minute in the fourth quarter, and they won. They have a great rushing attack. I think Bijan is legit. It's awesome. And I think it's a perfect weapon against the Kansas City Chiefs. Passing wise, Drake London looks okay. I mean, he got that touchdown against Slay because Slay was not looking at him whatsoever. Watch the game, he's looking at the Cousins the whole time. He doesn't even know that London's behind him. So that was just a mishap by Slay. Pitts, God, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people are missing out, are disappointed in that guy. He is not producing what he should. But the two running backs are the two running backs and the offensive line are the key for Atlanta. Arguably the best interior lineman in the league, and they have a good 1-2 punch in Bijan and Aguilar. Forgive me if I said his name wrong. He looked pretty good too against the Eagles too. But the Eagles' rush defense is terrible, so just keep that in mind. With Kansas City, they squeaked out 2 games. They beat Baltimore. Baltimore could have tied it if Likely steps in and hits both feet down. And they win against the Bengals because that pass interference call was called on them. I'll let you guys talk about that pass interference call. But, like I said, I think the Atlanta Falcons are a little hyped up here. They can't get to the quarterback. They got 1 sack against the Philadelphia Eagles. Even with Judon had some tackles for loss against the Eagles. And the Eagles arguably have one of the best offensive lines. Kansas City has a really good line. So I think that, because they can't get to the quarterback, you need to disrupt Holmes. Now, Kansas City losing Pacheco is big. Pacheco, they relied on him a lot. He was a good running back. I don't like any of the guys they got. Hunt, you guy's been sitting on a couch. I know he's familiar with Andy Reid's playbook, but he's been sitting he's probably been working out, but he's been out for hadn't signed with nobody. The kid they drafted in the 4th round, I don't know. I think he fumbled on his in the second game last week. And they have Pirine, how do you say his name? He'll be their catching back. He's decent, but I don't like any of them. It's going to be the Worthy show, the Rashid Rice show, and the Mahomes show, and Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce is cooked. And by cooked, I don't think he's bad anymore, but he's no longer the Travis Kelce we know. He's still probably a better than average tight end, so he's still going to be good. He's going to be better than probably half the tight ends on other teams, but he's not the Travis Kelce that we know. To get some stats that I've written down, the Chiefs have won each of their last 8 games when playing on rest, so that is not good for the Falcons, so keep an eye on that. The Falcons have lost 7 of their last 8 games September against AFC opponents. The Falcons have failed to cover the spread in 7 of their last 8 games as underdogs as well in AFC opponents. And one more, the Chiefs have covered the spread in 5 of their last 6 games on Sunday games. So I think you guys know where I'm going with this. I think the Falcons are a little overhyped up. I know the Chiefs squeaked one by the Bengals and squeaked by the Ravens, but they see those teams a lot. They played the Bengals in the playoffs a couple times, and they play the Ravens tough. They played the Ravens as well a lot of times. And I think Atlanta, they won against the Eagles, lost the first week, so no, I think Atlanta Falcons don't live up to the hype. So give me the Chiefs to cover the 3.5, and they pit the Falcons at 1-2. All right, well, with our first Monday night football game, we got the Jaguars, the 0-2 Jaguars, going against the undefeated Buffalo Bills, which To be honest, I'm surprised the Buffalo Bills are undefeated, seeing that they lost Diggs and they added they lost some defensive key guys, and Milano's out for the year. The line is Buffalo favored by 5 points, so it's -5, and the total is 45.5. Buffalo, they've been excellent. They're 11-1 in the Buffalo in the last 12 games, so that's pretty great. Jaguars look awful. Their offensive line looks awful. You could tell they're missing Ridley. Also, Ingram's probably out the game, the starting tight end, which is a great weapon for T-Law. Sorry. But the O-line's been terrible. Trevor Lawrence has been sacked 7 times already, and it's only the 2 games have passed. So the Bills are probably going to get after him. Von Miller looks like he's good. He looks good. Not maybe vintage Von Miller, but Von Miller looks like old Von Miller a little bit, so he can still get to the quarterback. The other DN, Greg Rosario. Forgive me if I pronounced that wrong. He's really great. I know you could get this line at 4.5, and if you can get it at 4.5, I would take it. Obviously, you know where I'm going with this. But to give a little more stats here, the Bills are 2-0 to open the season. They've been favorites in both games they've won. The Jaguars are 0-2 to open the season, and they've been underdogs in both. And Trevor Lawrence lost his only Monday Night Football start in 2023. So that's a little up there for Lawrence. And with the injury report, Tank Bigsby's questionable. Darnell Savage is questionable. Even Ingram is questionable. He's going to be out the game. So, that's 3 really good guys who can contribute for the Jaguars, but they might not play. And if they do play, they're hurt. And Buffalo, not too bad. They got Matt Milano and Taron Johnson and Javon Solomon. So with that, not too bad. And, the Jaguars have allowed the 3rd most passing yards to opposing QBs. I mean, God almighty. It seems like you can just throw on them any day of the week. They've also allowed opposing running backs 12 catches at 105 yards this season at a 75% catch rate. So that's pretty insane as well. Cook, the running back for the Bills, is excellent. They got some solid offensive weapons. I was a little suspect about it, but they got Knox and Kincaid at tight ends, which is really great. They got Kazir, I hope I'm saying that right, at wide receiver. And they got Allen, the running man machine. And that guy is, Superman. He runs the ball all the time. You're not going to stop him. He's a big bulldozer, so I expect him to possibly get a rushing touchdown, but also put up some good rushing yards. And, I don't know what to say. With the Jaguars being kind of disarray right now and their offensive line just being terrible, I think this is an easy pick. And their secondary just being, just awful. And so I think it's an easy pick here. Give me Buffalo to go 3-0 and to cover the spread at 5. And if I was going to, the over-under, if I was going to take it, I would take the under in this game at 45.5. But the best play for this game, I believe, is the Buffalo to cover the 5 points. And in the final game of this week, we got the Cincinnati 0-2 Bengals versus the mighty 1-1 Commanders. This will be short and quick. I think the Bengals should have beat Kansas City. If that pass interference isn't called, should have been called. I don't know. I'll let you guys decide that. If that doesn't get called, they probably win that game. They didn't look good the first week, But the Bengals are they're just natural slow starters. So I believe that Jamar Chase is going to have a great bounce back in this game. He's too good of a receiver to be this unproductive. And the Commanders' secondary is awful, god awful. So I like where this is a good game for the Bengals to bounce back. I believe the Commanders the Manuel Forbes Jr. is questionable. Not like he was that great anyways, but he's questionable. Higgins is questionable, and BJ Hall is questionable for the Bengals. But I believe Higgins is leaning towards starting from the last thing I read on Monday. Both teams are 1-1 against the spread this season, and both teams have gone over the listed game total 50% of the time. And Joe Burrow is 1-1 in Monday Night Football, so there's some trends for you guys to see. But you know what? I think Joe Burrow and the team, they'll be looking to get on track on Monday. They looked really great against Kansas City. The number Vegas is telling you right here, 7.5. They believe so as well. The Commanders, they've struggled out the gate, in Cliff Kingsbury's offense. They have nobody really to pass to. I mean, Daniel's not a great passer yet. Maybe he will turn into one in the NFL. Different than college, He's running the ball really great, Daniels, and we expected that. But their best, the player with the most receiving yards is Austin Eckler, and he's a running back. Don't get me wrong, he's a great passing catch running back, but you don't want to see that. I mean, I don't think nobody's scared of Scary Terry anymore. Nobody really has to watch him anymore. I think he's only seen 12 or 14 targets. And the Bengals have allowed just 272 passing yards this season with Brissett and Mahomes. And so it's unlikely that Daniels gets anything done in the air. So, I mean, they're just going to run the ball as best as they can. Robinson and Daniels back and forth and work off the play action. And so, I don't think, and that's probably their best shot. I wrote down here the Bengals have allowed the 7th most rushing yards to opposing running backs. So maybe that's their best shot. Use some RPO maybe with Daniels and Robinson and Eckler. So I think that's their best shot. But no, their defense is awful. I can't see that. I just can't see them do it. The Commanders are averaging 20 points a game, while Cincinnati has allowed an average of 21 pure contests. But, the Commanders lose that game against the Giants if Gano is not playing. Gano gets hurt, and the Commanders squeak by. So, they almost lost to the Giants. That's terrible. I know Danny Dimes has a good record against them, but, I just can't see the Commanders, getting another win here. So, put this in the bank. I think the Bengals have a great bounce back game. Jamar Chase, this is his game to get back on track, to go over 100 yards. I'm calling it. And Joe Burrow to make a statement to say that they're not down and done just yet, being 0-2. So I think they win this game by a lot. I think there's maybe more than 10 points. But I have them covering the 7.5. And if I was gonna bet the over/under, I'd probably bet the under in this game. But give me Cincinnati covering the 7.5 points and getting their first W this week. All right, guys. Well, that is my breakdown for Week 3 of the NFL. Let's get to my best picks, my best matchups that I will be personally gambling on. So here's the first of my best pick. We're picking 3 of them. The first one is the 49ers to cover 7.5 or 7, wherever you can get it. I think the 49ers are here to prove a point. They lost to the Minnesota Vikings, and they're looking for a strong bounce back to prove to the rest of the league that they are one of the elites. I know they got Debo's hurt and CMC's hurt, but they still got a lot of talent on both sides of the balls. The Rams are just too hurt on the offensive side, receivers and offensive line, and I think the 49ers are just going to eat that up. So give me 49ers minus the 7 or 7.5. Then give me the Titans money line or to cover the 1 or 1.5. They should have beat the Bears. They held there to the end with the Jets. It was tied, and Will Levis, he just needs to calm it down. He just needs to take it easy. He's getting better. I can see it each game. So if he just calms down against the Packers, which I think he can, and just rely on his running back and his 2 good wide receivers, I think he could pull it through. I do not like Malik Willis from the Green Bay starting quarterback. Jordan Love is not going to play. And they only beat the Colts because Anthony Richardson threw 3 interceptions. So give me the Titans money line or to cover the 1, 1.5. And the third pick, another ugly play, but I like it. The Dolphins plus 4 or 4.5 points, wherever you can get it. I know 2 is out, but I think that Dolphins are going to rally around that, and they're going to prove that they could beat the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks had 170 yards rushed on them. I think A-Chain and the rest of the running backs, Mozart's beat up, but I think if he's playing, he's going to get in this too. I think they're going to run all over the Seahawks, and I think they're going to utilize the speed of that team in Waddle and Hill, and they're just going to pit it to the Seahawks. So I do not trust the Seahawks, even though Geno Smith threw over 300 yards. I don't trust it. So no, not gonna buy it. Not gonna buy. Everybody's taking the Seahawks right now because of Tua being hurt. Buy it while it's hot. Buy it while the stock is low. Take the Dolphins plus the 4.5, and I believe they could keep it close enough that this will cover. And if it goes to 5, definitely jump on that. So give me the Dolphins plus 4.5. All right, guys, well, quick recap. My 3 best bets that I am doing for this week in the NFL, week 3, are the 49ers minus the 7 or 7.5, the Titans money line or minus 1 or 1.5, and the Dolphins plus 4 and 4.5. Remember, shop the books, get your best number available for you. But I think these are really 3 realistic potential winners. So I hope it's a profitable week for me. I hope it's a profitable week for you. Thanks for tuning in on this small little channel. I love doing this. So hopefully we all become winners this week. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.